The Duttons have faced war, death, and endless enemies, but nothing could have prepared them for the knife that would be plunged into their backs by someone they trusted. As tensions rise and the walls start closing in, one act of treachery changes everything. Meanwhile, Spencer and Alexandra's journey grows more perilous, with danger lurking at every turn. But just when they think they have escaped the worst, fate strikes again for the Dutton family. Tragedy is never far behind. With blood on their hands and vengeance in their hearts, they must decide, will they fight for what is theirs, or will betrayal tear them apart forever? The sun rises over the Yellowstone ranch, casting a golden hue over the land, but the beauty of the morning does little to ease the tension hanging in the air. Jacob Dutton stands by the barn, his hands resting on the rough wood, as he watches his men prepare for the long day ahead. There is an uneasiness in his heart, a whisper of danger that refuses to be ignored. The land has always been a battleground, but today something feels different. Cara Dutton senses it too. Inside the house, she moves through the kitchen, her mind clouded with worry. She has seen her fair share of hardships, but this one feels like a storm brewing just beyond the horizon. The family has endured too much loss already. And with enemies circling like vultures, she knows that peace is a fleeting illusion, but nothing could prepare her for what is about to unfold. Out in the fields, Jack Dutton works alongside the ranch hands, his youthful determination unshaken despite the growing tensions. He's always been eager to prove himself, to stand as a protector of the family legacy. But when one of the men rides up with urgent news, the blood drains from his face. The words are simple but devastating. Someone within their ranks has turned against them. Betrayal is not new to the Duttons, but this time it is closer than ever. Jacob gathers his men, his voice steady but filled with unspoken rage. They trusted this person. They welcomed them into their circle. And now that trust has been shattered, the betrayal is not just an attack on the family. It is an attack on everything they have built, everything they have bled for. And Jacob knows that if they do not act fast, the consequences will be catastrophic. As they prepare for what must be done, another threat looms in the distance. Spencer Dutton, thousands of miles away, faces his own battle. He and Alexandra have barely survived the trials of the African wilderness, and now their journey back home is more dangerous than ever. The road ahead is filled with unknown enemies, and the closer they get to Montana, the clearer it becomes that someone does not want them to arrive. The pieces are moved, the betrayal has been set in motion, and as the storm clouds gather over the Yellowstone, one thing is certain: this fight is far from over. As the weight of betrayal settles over the Dutton ranch, Jacob Dutton tightens his grip on the reins of leadership. The betrayal isn't just a simple act of disloyalty. It's a calculated strike meant to wound them when they least expect it. Someone inside their trusted circle has fed information to their enemies, exposing their weaknesses and making them vulnerable. The land they fought for, the legacy they've bled to protect, is now under threat like never before. And the worst part? The traitor is still among them, watching, waiting, ready to strike again. Inside the house, Cara Dutton's hands tremble as she reads a letter delivered in secret. The words are vague but chilling. "You are not safe. They are coming." Her pulse races. The message isn't signed, and there's no way to know who sent it. But one thing is clear: someone is planning to make their move, and it's happening soon. She tucks the letter away and forces herself to remain composed. Panic will only make things worse. If there's one thing she's learned in all these years, it's that fear can be just as deadly as a bullet. Meanwhile, out in the fields, Jack Dutton scans the faces of the men working beside him. Any one of them could be the traitor. His jaw clenches as he thinks about the lives that have already been lost, the price they've paid for this land. He won't let their sacrifices be in vain. But how do you fight an enemy when you don't know who they are? A chilling thought crosses his mind. What if the traitor isn't just a hired hand? What if it's someone closer? Someone they trust with their lives? Back in town, the walls are closing in on the Duttons. A new threat has emerged, one that could change Donald Whitfield, the ruthless businessman who has made it his mission to crush the Duttons and take their land, is pulling the strings from the shadows. With every passing day, his grip on the region tightens. His money buys him power. His influence turns allies into enemies. And now, with a mole inside the Dutton ranks, he has the upper hand. But Whitfield isn't just after land. He wants to see Jacob Dutton broken. He wants the Yellowstone legacy erased from history. And if he has to burn everything to the ground to make that happen, so be it. While the battle rages at home, Spencer Dutton's journey grows darker. He and Alexandra have faced wild beasts, treacherous landscapes, and the brutality of men who wish them harm. But the greatest danger still lies ahead: merciless hunters and the unforgiving elements. But nothing compares to the danger that now stalks them. The closer they get to America, the more obstacles arise. It's almost as if someone is ensuring they never make it back. A violent storm forces their ship to change course, delaying their arrival yet again. But fate has far crueler plans in store for them. In the dead of night, Spencer awakens to the sound of muffled footsteps outside their cabin. His instincts scream danger. He reaches for his gun, heart pounding. He's been hunted before. He knows what it feels like when death is near. Before he can react, the door bursts open. A group of armed men storm in, their faces obscured by the shadows. Alexandra gasps, reaching for Spencer, but he's already moving, already fighting. The struggle is brutal, desperate. Fists collide, gunshots echo through the narrow quarters of the ship. Spencer takes a hit, but refuses to go down. He fights like a man with nothing left to lose, but the odds are against him. And when a gun is pressed to Alexandra's temple, he is forced to make an impossible choice: stand down or watch the woman he loves die. Back in Montana, the morning brings more than just the rising sun. It brings blood. A body is found near the barn. The message clear: this is only the beginning. The Duttons have been warned, but they are far from surrendering. Jacob Dutton stands over the lifeless form, his face a mask of fury. The traitor has made their move, and now it's time for the Duttons to make theirs. The sun rises over the Montana plains, but it brings no peace. The Duttons are under siege, not just by their enemies, but by betrayal lurking in the shadows. The air is thick with tension, the kind that weighs on a man's shoulders and makes his trigger finger twitch. Inside the house, Jacob Dutton stares at the bloodied note, left with the body near the barn. The words are scrawled in a crude, mocking script. "You're next." He crushes the paper in his fist, his fury boiling over. Whoever did this thinks they can intimidate him, thinks they can break the Duttons from the inside out. But Jacob has fought too many wars, lost too many loved ones to back down now. In the town of Bozeman, the storm is already brewing. Donald Whitfield sits in his office, watching the land through his window as if he already owns it. He's methodical, ruthless. He doesn't just attack, he dismantles. And with a traitor feeding him information, he knows exactly where to hit the Duttons where it hurts most. The banks are tightening their grip. The sheriff's men are growing hostile, and whispers in the saloon speak of an ambush coming soon. Whitfield isn't playing fair. He never has. But this time, he doesn't need to. The Duttons are already bleeding, and he's just waiting for them to fall. Back at the ranch, Kara Dutton's mind races. She moves through the house with careful steps, searching for anything out of place. The walls feel thinner, the rooms colder. Someone among them is working for Whitfield. But who? Every familiar face now holds suspicion. She knows Jacob won't rest until he finds the traitor. But the truth is, the betrayal may have already done its damage. The longer they wait, the more vulnerable they become. Then a thought creeps into her mind. What if the traitor isn't a ranch hand, but someone close, someone with a deeper reason for turning against them? Meanwhile, Jack Dutton is sharpening his knife, the steel glinting in the dim morning light. His anger is a wildfire, burning hotter with each passing second. He wants justice, but more than that, he wants revenge. His father taught him that their land wasn't just dirt. It was blood sacrifice, a legacy carved into the earth, and if someone thought they could steal it, they'd soon learn what it meant to cross a Dutton. But even as Jack prepares for the fight ahead, another realization dawns on him. This war isn't just about their land anymore. It's about survival. Miles away, Spencer Dutton's nightmare continues. The attack on the ship was no accident. It was a warning. But why? Who sent those men? He and Alexandra are forced into hiding, their journey to America now more dangerous than ever. The captain of the ship refuses to answer their questions, his fear evident in his averted gaze. Spencer clenches his fists, his patience wearing thin. He's fought battles in the African wild, faced lions with nothing but a rifle, and now he's being hunted like animal. But he's no prey. He's a Dutton. That night, as the ship drifts under a clouded sky, Spencer feels the weight of a decision pressing down on him. If he and Alexandra continue on this path, more blood will be spilled. He's no stranger to violence, but Alexandra is, and if anything happens to her, if he loses her now, he'll never forgive himself. The thought alone is unbearable, but even as he considers a different course, fate has other plans. The ship jolts violently, an explosion ripping through the hull. The sound is deafening, the chaos immediate. Spencer barely has time to react before water rushes in. Alexandra screams his name, reaching for him as the world collapses around them. Back in Montana, the Duttons brace for war. Jacob stands with his rifle, his eyes scanning the horizon. He knows what's coming. The enemy is closing in, but if they think they can take the Yellowstone, they'll have to fight for every inch, and Jacob Dutton has no intention of losing. Dark clouds loom over the Yellowstone ranch, an omen of what's to come. The air is thick with unease as the Duttons prepare for an attack they know is inevitable. Jacob stands on the front porch, his grip tightening around his rifle. His weathered face is etched with determination, but behind those sharp eyes, a storm of thoughts rages. The betrayal, someone within their walls feeding Whitfield information, has left him with a taste of bitterness he can't shake. A Dutton never flinches in battle, but knowing the enemy is closer than he thought, makes this war far more dangerous. Inside the house, Cara Dutton paces the floor, piecing together clues that don't add up. The missing cattle, the ambushed supply wagons, the well-timed raids. None of it was random. Someone has been orchestrating their downfall from the inside, making sure every strike lands where it hurts most. The unsettling feeling in her gut tells her the traitor isn't just any hired hand. It's someone with access, someone they trusted. Her mind spins through possibilities, but before she can settle on a suspect, the door bursts open. Jack Dutton storms in, his face red with anger. "We've been played," Jack growls, slamming his hat onto the table. "They hit the east pasture last night, cut the fences, ran off half our cattle." His fists clench. Someone knew exactly when to strike. Jacob exhales sharply, his patience wearing thin. They've been holding the line, fighting off every attack, but the walls are closing in. If they don't act soon, the Yellowstone will be Whitfield's. Before Jacob can speak, the sound of hooves pounding against the dirt echoes in the distance. A lone rider approaches, his face barely visible under the shadow of his hat. As he gets closer, his identity becomes clear. It's Hank, one of their most trusted wranglers. His horse is lathered in sweat, his face streaked with dust and fear. "Boss," Hank gasps, barely able to catch his breath. It's happening. The sheriff's men, they're coming. And Whitfield, he's already making his move. The room falls silent, the weight of the moment pressing down on them. This isn't just another skirmish. This is the endgame. Meanwhile in town, Donald Whitfield sits in the dim glow of his office, swirling a glass of whiskey. Across from him sits the traitor, someone the Duttons never saw coming. The man's hands shake slightly, guilt flashing across his face. But Whitfield smirks. Regret won't get you far in this world, Whitfield says coolly. But power will, and you've just bought yourself a seat at the table. Back at the ranch, the Duttons prepare for battle. Guns are loaded, horses saddled. There's no turning back now. But just as Jacob is about to give the order to ride out, a gunshot rings through the air. The sound is deafening, cutting through the silence like a blade. A scream follows, one that makes every heart stop. Cara Dutton turns toward the sound, her breath catching in her throat. She knows that voice. She rushes to the front of the house, eyes scanning the chaos, and then she sees it. Jack is on his knees, cradling a lifeless body in his arms. Blood pools beneath them, staining the ground dark red. The betrayal wasn't just about land, it was about taking everything from them, and now the cost has been paid in blood. The sound of the gunshot still echoes through the valley, a haunting reminder that war has officially come to the Yellowstone. Jack Dutton's voice trembles with grief as Jacob Dutton steps forward, his expression stone cold, his eyes burning with the fire of vengeance. Get inside, he commands, his voice low but firm. We don't have time for tears. But Jack isn't moved. His body is frozen in place, his heart pounding so loudly it drowns out everything else. He looks up at his grandfather, eyes wild with pain. We let this happen, he mutters, his voice barely above a whisper. We let them take everything from us. Cara Dutton kneels beside him, placing a gentle but firm hand on his shoulder. We still have a fight ahead, she says, her voice steady despite the storm raging in her chest, and we need you in it. Jack clenches his jaw, his fingers tightening around the fabric of the dead man's coat. One last time before he finally lets go, he closes the eyes of the fallen, his own heart hardening with resolve. Then let's end this. Inside the ranch house, the atmosphere is thick with tension. Jacob gathers his men, their faces hardened with determination. The Duttons have fought off plenty of threats before, but this one is different. This one has a name, a face, and now a body count. Hank stands by the window, his rifle in hand. I counted at least 20 men riding in from the east, he reports. Whitfield ain't just sending hired guns anymore. He's got the law on his side. Jacob nods, his mind racing. The sheriff's men have always been hesitant to step into the fight, but Whitfield has found a way to tip the scales. Bribes, threats, whatever it took, he did it. Now the Duttons are outnumbered and outgunned, but that doesn't mean they're out. We fight smart, Jacob says, his voice cutting through the tension like a blade. We know this land better than they do. We use it. Outside, the enemy is closing in. Dust rises in the distance as horses thunder toward the ranch. The men are armed to the teeth, their faces masked with determination. Donald Whitfield isn't among them. He never dirties his own hands, but his shadow looms over everything. Jack grips his rifle, his heart pounding with anticipation. They don't walk away from this, he mutters. The first shot cracks through the air, igniting the battle. In an instant, bullets fly, shattering windows, splintering wood. The Duttons return fire, each shot fueled by rage, by grief, by the need to protect what little they have left. Hank takes cover behind a wagon, his gun steady as he picks off the men charging in. Cara reloads with practiced hands, her movements quick and precise. She may not be a soldier, but she's always been a fighter. Jacob stands at the center of it all, his rifle kicking against his shoulder with each pull of the trigger. He moves with the instinct of a man who has spent his life in battle, who has seen too much blood spilled over land, over power. Jack fights like a man possessed, his rage making him reckless. He steps into the open, firing shot after shot, his vision blurred by fury. A bullet whizzes past his head, barely missing him, but he doesn't flinch. The Duttons are holding their ground, but the enemy keeps coming. One by one, their numbers dwindle, but still they push forward. Whitfield's men don't fight with passion. They fight with greed, with promises of land and wealth fueling their attacks. Then, out of nowhere, a sharp whistle cuts through the chaos. A signal, a warning. From the tree line, a group of riders emerges. Fast, deadly. At first, it's unclear who they are. But then the realization hits. It's Spencer. His return is as dramatic as his absence. Flanked by men hardened by war, by survival, he charges into the fray without hesitation. His rifle finds its mark with every shot, his presence turning the tide of battle in an instant. Jack stares in shock for a brief second, before a grin tugs at the corner of his lips. "Took you long enough," he mutters. Spencer barely spares him a glance. "Let's finish this." The battle rages on, but now the Duttons have hope. The tides are shifting. Whitfield's men, once so sure of their victory, now find themselves on the defensive. But just as victory seems within reach, a new horror unfolds. A gunshot, sharp, precise, rings out. And this time when a body falls, it isn't one of Whitfield's men, it's one of their own. The war is far from over, and the Duttons have just paid the price for fighting it. Silence falls over the battlefield, but it is not the kind that brings peace. It is the heavy, suffocating silence of loss. Smoke lingers in the air, curling from the barrels of guns that have finally gone still. The stench of blood and dust settles into the earth, mixing with the shattered remains of what was once a home, a sanctuary, a promise of something that could have lasted for generations. But tonight, the Dutton legacy teeters on the edge of ruin. Jack Dutton kneels beside the fallen body, his hands trembling as he presses them against the wound, as if he can hold back the inevitable. His face is twisted with anguish. Cara Dutton wipes the blood from her hands, her face pale but set with resolve. "This isn't over," she murmurs, her voice barely above a whisper. "We've won the battle, but the war is just beginning." Spencer clenches his fists, the weight of his absence pressing heavily on his chest. He should have been here sooner. Maybe then this wouldn't have happened. Maybe then the price wouldn't have been so steep. He looks at Jacob, searching for some kind of reassurance, but all he finds is exhaustion. The old man has fought too many wars, buried too many loved ones, and yet he still stands. "We bury our dead," Jacob finally said. "Then we take the fight to him." The next morning, the Duttons lay their fallen to rest. The funeral is a quiet affair, not because there are no tears, but because the grief is too deep for words. Jack watches as the earth swallows another piece of his family, his knuckles white from the way he grips the reins of his horse. He should be numb by now. He should have nothing left to feel, but the pain is as fresh as the day his father was taken from him. Spencer stands beside him, silent. This land is soaked with the blood of their ancestors, yet they continue to fight for it, continue to give everything they have. The weight of it is unbearable, but it is their burden to carry. After the last handful of dirt is thrown over the grave, Jacob turns to his family. His voice is steel, his resolve unshaken. "No more waiting, no more playing by their rules. We take back what's ours." Jack looks at him, something dark flashing in his eyes. "How?" Jacob exhales slowly. "Whitfield thinks he's won, that he can push us into a corner until we break." He pauses, looking out over the land. But a man who has nothing left to lose is the most dangerous kind of man. A slow, grim smile spreads across Spencer's face. "Then let's show him what happens when he crosses the wrong family." The battle for Yellowstone isn't over. The Duttons have lost too much, but what remains is stronger than ever. Whitfield might own the law, but the Duttons own something far more powerful, the land itself, and they will fight for it with everything they have. As the sun sets over the valley, casting long shadows over the graves of the fallen, one thing becomes clear. This war isn't about cattle or land titles anymore. It's about survival, and the Duttons have never been ones to go down without a fight.